Hi, everyone. Welcome to our another Tech Talk session. I'm very excited to be here with all of you today. And apologies for delay, some tech glitches, but we are here, right? And today, I have a very special guest with me, and he is Mr. Barry Rodrigues, and he is the founder of NexGen Digital, a London-based growth marketing consultancy that helps early stage B2B businesses scale using a 9 module framework for growth. So let's welcome him. Hi, Barry. How are you?
Hey guys, hey Tripti. I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me on the Tech Talk. It's been a pleasure. I think I've done one of these ages ago. I don't remember, but uh, in keeping with the times today, tech, especially AI, everyone's been talking about AI. It's a lot of buzz around AI. So yeah, I'm quite excited to talk about my. I'm not an expert on AI, although I have spent the last 9, 10 months just dabbling in different kinds of AI. So I'm excited to share my findings and my thoughts and my views on it.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. And guys, just to clear you all, the topic for today's session is going to be AI Unleashed. We have had a session on AI before, but then this is a different one. Here we will know about job discovery and everything with the help of AI. So we're going to hear it from Barry today. And before we begin with the session, Barry, if you can give us a little brief about yourself and your journey in tech.
Sure. So I've been a marketer. As you said, Tripti. I'm based currently in the UK in London. I run a small sort of boutique growth accelerator. We help early stage B2B startups scale using a proven system, a framework of 9 modules. I've been around for 20 plus years. I've been in the marketing industry, marketing ecosystem, so to speak. And I think over the last 2 3 years, I've been seeing this huge monumental, in fact, monumental shift towards how people are doing, primarily, my domain, which is marketing. It's been hugely affected by developments in AI and stuff. But apart from that, I think even business in general and life you know, in general has been affected. In my opinion, I don't think a lot of the mainstream audiences have really begun to understand how deep AI is running. Um, but then, to be fair, not a lot of us, even up until recently, and I will blame ChatGPT for that, because OpenAI through ChatGPT has made AI more mainstream than ever. But
Yeah.
to be fair, AI has always been deep rooted in whatever we've done. Like way back to, I don't know if you want to rewind to 20 years, 25 years, whenever they launched eBay and Amazon and all those platforms. Anything to do with a particular program or protocol or software that was doing recommendations, like when people were doing recommendation engines or whatever, that was all AI. The only difference is that was a very rudimentary form of AI, and the AI that we know now has jumped leaps and bounds. Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about, my journey has been understanding how those rudimentary forms of AI have kind of given shape to what we now know as AI. And if you actually ask anybody what was AI 5 years ago, they would say, oh, the picture or the visualization would be of a robot. Because a lot of
Yeah.
us, like in my generation, we grew up watching Terminator and stuff, right? So you'd be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
it's Terminator, and they're going to take over the world, and it's Cyberdyne or
All
whatever the
right.
company is. And but fast forward to today. Today, AI, or people's understanding of AI, is completely different. It's all about productivity. It's not a robot. A robot is just one form or one avatar of what AI is. I think AI generally is any form of intelligence that actually can give you some sort of, or add value to your life, add value to your day-to-day processes, add value to whatever it is that you're doing, be it at work, be it whatever you're doing even outside. There's so many forms of AI that we can include even in, let's say, physical activity, or when it comes to physical training, or when it comes to education, or when it comes to healthcare. And it's not just, and again, contrary to what most people think, AI is not predominantly just going to be used for business. Although we've been talking in a business sphere, but you can
Mhm.
take it to so many different dimensions, and that's what's exciting, and that's what I'm here to talk about and really excited about.
I feel it's like water, it molds into any shape and anything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That, I mean, I couldn't pick a better description for that. That's really good. Yeah, it's literally you can take AI in its rudimentary form and just put it into any sort of
Anything.
to put in your analogy, and then it make it work. And that has to do
Yeah.
with training models, right? Because AI is trainable. So there's so many different training models out there, and then if you know how to train and if you know how to engineer the right kind of prompts, you can train AI to do pretty much anything, right? From figuring out what the recipe is or what the menu is going to be for your next big party session at home, for your dinner.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to sort of think. You can get to a point where you say, "Oh, some of my guests are vegetarian, some of them are vegan, some of them are carnivores or whatever it is, and we also live in San Francisco, for instance. So AI will take everything if will factor everything, given the fact that you said, oh, they're vegetarian and based in San Francisco, and say, oh, based on everything that you've told me, this is what I recommend your menu should be. This is what I recommend the drinks you should be serving. So it's amazing. And you don't have to fiddle around with, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what. You could just let AI do that. One of weird you asked me this, but one of the first, like when ChatGPT was launched, and by the way, I'd been using the earlier versions of GPT-1, GPT-2, GPT-3 from 2020 onwards. But when ChatGPT was launched, the first thing I did was, it was around about February last year when I was testing it out, and I was like, my son's birthday is coming up, so let me see if ChatGPT can figure out, can give me some suggestions on what I should do for a 6-year-old's birthday. And weirdly
Uh-huh.
enough, I just said, give me, and again, this was early stages of ChatGPT, so I did not know how to put in a proper prompt. So I just said, give me ideas for, a 6-year-old birthday party. And it spat out, and then just out of curiosity, I typed the same thing into Google, because there's a difference in between what ChatGPT
Mhm.
would give you vis-a-vis Google, and it was completely different. Google was more commercial, so it was giving you, oh, these are the party planners and these are the things that you can do, but these are things that you can buy and whatever. Whereas ChatGPT was actually giving me a reasoning behind why I should do these things. It was saying, oh, 6-year-olds like this, or like, for instance, like that. And then somewhere I read, oh, you should ask pre-qualifying questions and prompts and stuff so that you can further filter. So I said, okay, my son likes dinosaurs, for instance, and then it would say, oh, you could do, for instance, you could do a themed birthday party with inflatables and things like that. So it was pretty interesting. And then from there to coming up to this February, which is going to be 1 year since I was using ChatGPT, there's a major change in how I understand prompts and how to use those prompts, and how to get ChatGPT to ask you further qualifying questions to actually refine your prompt so that your end result gets much, much better. And that's a lot of ways what I think you can sort of inculcate that sort of knowledge into job hunting and job seeking itself, which I think a lot of people, including myself, were not aware of. Um,
Mhm.
I'll give you this is like the perfect segue into what we're gonna talk about, and this is so when I first moved to the UK, the idea was, find a job and then, get some experience and then start doing my own thing. So because I spent about 18, 19 years in the Middle East in different positions, and then I moved here because my family had moved here, and that's what I thought it would be. And I had a pretty strong CV, and everywhere I went, face to face, I would give a copy of my CV to the recruiters, and they would be like, "Oh, this is a pretty impressive CV." But when I started
Mhm.
uploading this CV onto job sites like Indeed and all the other ones, I noticed that I wasn't getting many callbacks. And this is a very interesting story, and this is what led me to kind of, one of the other reasons I'm here is I want to talk about, why me and my co-founder developed another product on the side, nothing to do with NexGen Digital, but we developed a product, and I'll get to that in a minute. But let me continue the story. The
Yeah.
problem was I wasn't getting a lot of interviews. All right, and after 4 or 5 months, I was thinking, why? And for the few interviews that I was getting, I casually asked the recruiter, is there like why am I not getting interviews? And none of them could figure out why. They just saw my CV and they go, well, you have an impressive CV. I've been in senior positions. I've done all these accomplishments, whatever. But I don't know why you're not getting calls for interviews. As time went by and as I did my research, I realized back then it was a rudimentary form of artificial intelligence. That was applicant tracking software. So a lot of companies, a lot of recruiting agencies were using applicant tracking softwares. And these
Okay.
tracking softwares are using algorithms to figure out, to sort of use keyword analysis and other forms of identification to figure out uh, which which candidates were at the top and which candidates were at the bottom. And unfortunately, even though I had in real life, I had a proper solid resume, but that somehow wasn't being translated into the CV. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
then I started experimenting with using different tools, using keyword optimization tools, just how you would optimize a web page for SEO. I was I started optimizing my CV for to get found on the ATS, which was effectively my search engine, the ATS. And whenever I so we tried a bunch of tools. I tried a bunch of tools. I tried different variations of my CV, and then I realized after about a year and a half of research, obviously, that was not the only thing that I did. I also went down to found establish NexGen Digital. But on the side, when I was doing this, I realized that ATS softwares are looking for multiple things. They're looking for something as simple as the length of a CV. They're looking for things like the font that you use in a CV, the font size that you use in a CV. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
minor cosmetic sort of differences. And then they're looking for things like again, it depends on the role. For instance, if you're in a sales role, it will look for things like percentages. As a salesperson,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
many closes did you have? How much revenue did you bring in? So it's looking for percentages. It's looking for numbers. It's also looking for very strong verbs, action verbs, which when you're writing a CV, you just think about the first words that come to your mind. You led a team, you accomplished so and so, you sold, you blah 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 blah. But then if an ATS is in the picture, then they're looking at strong action verbs versus weak action verbs, or strong action verbs versus commonly used action verbs. And if you have a strong one, there's a chance that your CV will rank higher in the search. Whereas if you have weak ones or more commonly used ones, then you're going to get lower. Then as soon as I started understanding this, I changed those words. So good became great, and led became managed, and all those words. It was just a matter of how you position yourself.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
One would say you could just go to an English thesaurus and just sort of add a very what do you call it, an intelligent sounding word to replace a non-intelligent sounding word, and effectively that is what it is. And what that and again, I if you look at the flip side of it, and we're not going to get into that argument right now, but if you look at the flip side of it, it is, I call this lazy recruiting, because probably recruiters have so many CVs that they're getting, that
Yeah,
they don't want to go through each and every one of them, and they'll be like, okay, fine, we are going to look at the top 50 or the top 100 that the ATS system suggests. And this
yeah,
is where I believe candidates need to get a little bit smarter in understanding, how to position themselves. um, I'm sure we've all noticed this, right? Especially in the last 5-10 years, when websites have become like the thing. Like when you hear of a company, what do people do first? They Google and they look for a website. And
mhm,
essentially, it is how you position yourself as a brand. You can make a 5-person company look like a mega corporation just by how well the website is designed and the kind
well,
of
yeah,
content is on the website. It's the same
true.
way with CVs as well. You can make I'm not saying that you can be completely talentless. Obviously, you have to have talent and you have to have had some accomplishments. But it's just
Mhm.
the way that you reposition the wording on your CV and the formatting on your CV that gets you noticed.
Yeah,
And then once you get, and when I say get noticed, I mean at least land you that first interview, right? Because
yeah,
once
yeah.
you've got that first interview, then you can put your CV aside. Then it's you. Then it
Then
all
it's
depends on
yeah,
how you manage to sell yourself. But up until that time, your CV needs to do the talking for you, right? And
exactly.
another thing that I used to do was I used to have this is a bit of a hack for some of the people that are listening. Like if you have a really strong CV, I used to have two CVs. One that I would upload into Indeed and CV Library and all those job search engines, and another one that I would actually print out and take with me once I was getting called to those interviews. And when I got called to the interviews, I would be like, there you go, this is a copy of my CV. And a lot of the times they'd be like, oh, no, no, it's okay, we have your CV. And I go, no, no, you'd want to refer to this, because that CV, I just, and I didn't lie. There was nothing disingenuous about the ATS compliance CV. It's just that it was written in a different way so that I would get called to the interview. And then once I would get
Oh,
called to the interview, I would go and say, okay, this is the CV that you might want to reference when you're having this interview, because that CV has got
mhm.
different prerequisites, and this is the one that you want to look at. most of the time people didn't mind. Once or twice, I think people are like, no, 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 we're just going to go with this one. But 90% of the time, people don't mind. They'll actually go because I think they're looking at how did you get to the job interview. They're not looking at, because you could go completely off grid, right? You could actually stalk some of those interviewers, look at them walking into their building and just go in. And we've seen this in a movie, right? I think it was in that Will
Yes.
Smith film where he just stalks these people and is like, give me an interview. And then to the point where like, okay, fine, come tomorrow at 11 and we'll do an interview. You could do that,
Yeah.
right? The end goal is just to get the interview so that you can prove that you deserve that job. So this is what an
Yeah.
effective ATS compliant CV will do. And this is what we're going to hopefully talk about in the next 15-20 minutes.
That's actually nice and that's actually smart.
Yeah, thanks.
Having
And,
like two
and, and and I
CVs,
thought this
like,
will bring in some personal context. There's a lot of times I see people are doing developing a product that, and again, I don't mind. It's a shameless plug. We're developing the product. Hopefully, if you guys keep track of me and my content on LinkedIn, I'll announce it because I don't want to
uh-huh,
make this tech talk about the product that we've launched because it's not fair.
uh-huh.
But eventually, do follow me, guys. If you're watching, follow me, and I'll let you in on those little nuggets of information. But yeah, this is all stems from a personal sort of thing. It's not like, oh, we just want to get into this space because everyone is talking about it. We want to get into this space because A, there's a lot of value in it, and B, um, I we genuinely want to help job seeker candidates find jobs because I've
Yeah.
personally been in that boat myself.
So you can say from your experience, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Great. So that's really amazing start, I feel. And like now that AI is in the picture, right? People are getting dependent on it somehow or the other. But for like job seekers or job discovery, how like do you want to expand a little bit on the session title, like how AI being in the picture and how it's, going on with job discovery?
Yeah, for sure. So I think again there's like I said in the beginning, there's a lot of misconceptions about AI. There's first of all there's the complete naysayers who are like anti AI, right? They're like, oh my god, this. And there's the people who actually watched in my age and older who watched Terminator, and they're like, oh my god, this is the end of the world as we know it. And in a way, they're right. It's the end of the world as we know it. And the reason we're saying that is because things are going to change dramatically and hopefully for the better. Slightly different tangent, but there's a book that I was reading recently called "Solve for Happy." It's written by this gentleman called Mo Gaudat. He used to be the chief business officer at Google X and very accomplished gentleman. And he's writing another book, or he's launched another book, and in it they talk about AI. And something interesting that he said was AI. Think of it AI as an engine, right? And the output that you put into AI will depend will largely govern or largely dictate the input. Sorry, I'll take that back. The input that you put into AI will uh, will sort of inversely be related to the output that it generates. So if you put
Mm,
good input in, then your outputs are going to be good, right? So people are thinking, oh my God, what if AI literally takes over the world? And that's only going to happen if we set bad examples for AI. If you
mhm.
set good examples to AI, then AI is going to think, oh my God, human beings are amazing. And these are all the good things that we're doing. So I need to be good because AI is basically what AI is modeled around humans. So if AI is not going to get an idea out of all these silly things that they say in movies about AI taking the world, that's only because the villains want to take over the world. The bad guys want to take over the world. So if you portray AI as good, if you portray humans as good, and if you show AI this is all the good that human beings have done, then AI will have a positive effect. And that's a really profound sort of. It's true. It's what you put in, you'll get the results of it. It's karma. It's whatever you want to put it. So that's how I see AI. So in any way, so it depends on what your application of AI is. Whether you're talking about something as minuscule in the general sphere of things, if you look at optimizing your CV using AI to building a driverless car using AI, because all these tools use different variations of AI, it doesn't depend on the scale or the magnitude. It depends on what the end goal is. And if the end goal is, if you clearly define what your end goal is when you're developing whatever product it is or whatever, or whatever product that you're using, if you define what your end goal is, then there's AI is always going to have a positive impact on you. So for instance, in the context of today's tech talk, if you say I want to use AI to develop a really kick-ass CV that I can use to find a job, or I want to use AI to develop my skills, or I want to further my
Mm-hmm.
knowledge of my industry, you can do that. There have been instances where, for instance, and we'll talk about that eventually, I think, but where you can actually teach AI an AI, you can train an AI model to sort of, let's say you're developing, you want to learn a new language. Let's say you want to learn Spanish, for instance, or you want to learn Portuguese, you want to learn Arabic, for that matter. You can actually train an AI model to sort of create lessons for you based off of Udemy, for instance, or based off of, I don't know, Coursera or any of these language apps, or Babel, or whatever those language apps are. So now you're not just using the app itself, but you're using AI as an intermediary that's going to extrapolate the right kind of information and then feed it to you, right? So those, if you take advantage of AI in that way, then there's no stopping your development as a professional or your development as a human, because you're using AI for the positive, for the positives that it can give you. Um, and that's what I always tell people. If you're using AI, you don't use it as, because a lot of people are talking about it as like the shiny object syndrome. Like, oh my God, with AI we can do this, we can do that. But my question is, do you really need this, and do you really need that? Because if you don't really need this and you don't really need that, then there's no point in building a product that, and that, I mean, even taking AI out of the equation, it's the same principle, right? Why build a product that nobody wants?
Yeah.
And then people get upset because they say, "Oh, we put our heart and soul into building this product and nobody wants it." But then you didn't really ask if they wanted it. It doesn't provide any meaningful benefit, right? It was there. You launched it. People felt the need for it for 5 minutes, and then they're like, "Okay, fine. Your what is it? 15 minutes of fame is gone, so I don't want to use it." It's literally like the modern day equivalent of fidget spinners, right? Like, can someone please tell me what the long term benefit of a fidget spinner was? Like 5 6 years ago or 8 years ago, they were the coolest things. I remember like everyone had a fidget spinner. I had a fidget spinner. But nobody talks about them anymore because they were just a trend, right? AI is
Yeah.
not a trend. People are thinking AI is a trend, but it's not a trend. AI is eventually going to evolve into a lifestyle, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be all about how you take different facets of AI and then infuse it into different parts of your life. And
Right.
here today we're going to talk about, like, for instance, how you can infuse it into finding a job, or how you can infuse it
Yeah.
into, bettering your career, for instance, or finding, or if you, for instance, if you already have a job, right, but you want to find a better job, how you can use AI to do that. It's not about just, oh, I found a job, so I don't need AI anymore. You can always take it to the next level and the next level and the next level, and there's no end to it's basically you can do it in perpetuity. There's no end to it.
Yeah. Nice. So now that we have come here, like, the question of how job seekers can use AI has already been raised. So can you tell us how candidates can navigate online job platforms with AI?
Sure. So I think I've kind of covered this already, invariably, inadvertently in the introduction. But
Yeah.
I mean, doing simple. I think a lot of people don't do the simple things. They always go for the complicated things, and this is human tendency. Right? They're like, and I know recently this has been an issue where lots of people are like, put in as much intelligent sounding words in the CV and make it sound intelligent. Which again, going by pros and cons, like, yeah, you want to sound intelligent, but you don't want to sound like you use sorry, a thesaurus for the entire CV, right? Because then you got to remember, the person that is actually eventually, when your CV does get optimized and when the human being is reading your CV, he or she needs to understand it in a digestible way. And by
Yeah.
the way, people are smart these days, right? They will, I think most of us who have had access to AI or Chat GPT or GPT-3 or whatever, or 4 or whatever, you can sort of figure out when something is been you when someone has used AI to write something, as opposed to when a person has
Hmm.
actually written it. It's there are tools out there that are changing that, like undetectable AI and all these tools where you can upload an AI written blog post, for instance, and then it'll rewrite it in a more human centric way. But those tools are still not yet discovered by the mainstream audiences. So people are they're like, okay, well, this is completely written by AI. And the trick is, optimizing your profile in a way that is um, that it gets noticed by the right people, but at the same time give it some sort of human personality. So when someone, like for instance, if I'm a recruiter and if I find 20, if I find 1,000 applications in my ATS, but if I'm looking at the first 20 or the first 30, when I'm reading them, I need to understand that this is, oh my God, this is an actual person and he's had all these amazing accomplishments. I want to go hire him. And the best way I can tell you this is put yourself in that shoe, in that person's shoe. Would you hire you? Because if you wouldn't hire you, then don't expect someone else to hire you, right?
Yeah, that's
And
true.
this is the easiest hack that I can say. Other than that, I would say another thing that people don't do enough is customize applications. And I'm always telling people go for quality versus quantity. I know it can be quite tempting because a lot of these job application sites have now introduced easy apply, which means you can,
Yeah,
like LinkedIn, for instance, have used now they've introduced easy apply, so you can just one click apply and boom. It's a good thing if it's a junior level position, but if you're in a mid level and a senior level position, you don't want to do you really want to take the time to customize that application for that particular role. And again, here you can use AI tools, but don't just copy and paste an AI written personal statement and send it. Again, you got to make it your own, because AI will only go so far as to understand the role or the responsibility that you've put in there. But what you've done personally in terms of your accomplishments in your previous role and how to
yeah,
connect those accomplishments with the current job description that you're applying for, only you can do that. AI will not be able to do that. And if it does that, it'll be doing that in a very, at least in the current state, it won't be able to do that. Maybe in future you can. But right now, you need to be able to do that. And that's where you need to take that extra maybe 10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes, reframe that personal statement
mhm,
or cover letter so that it shows that you've taken the time to understand what that job description is and add your two bits. So my thing is, do not completely ignore AI, but also use whatever AI spits out, add your own personal twist to it, make it relevant to that job description, so that when again, employers or when recruiters are looking at your CV and looking at your description, they look and say, oh my God, we're asking for this particular talent and this guy has it, or this girl
yeah,
has it
yeah,
because she's done it in the past. It's not a copy paste sort of, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that, but then the guy sees, well, this if you've say applied for 100 positions and you're applying, literally copy and pasting the same five main core competencies, and some of those roles may have all those five core competencies, but a lot of them will have two or three. But if you mention all those five and the guys are going, well, we don't want, like, we never asked for a pay-per-click guy, we never asked for a content guy, we never asked for a social media guy, why is this guy going on and on about social media? Oh, he's probably copied and pasted. Nah, I don't want it. And this is what typically happens. So my thing is, while it can be tempting to copy and paste or do this one click applications, it really is worth it, spending some quality time and applying for, instead of doing 100 applications a day, do 10, but do them really well, as opposed to doing
yeah,
100 and just copy and pasting and stuff. Or in a worst case scenario, if you really want to do that, you can still do the generic sounding ones where you think you have a 50% chance. You can do copy paste for them. But the ones where you feel that you're a better fit, like you have a 70 or 80% chance, those at least you should spend more time on and customize. So best of
yeah,
both worlds. So stay, tailor your applications. And the other thing is, I would say, stay informed. Like, you can do simple things like, especially if it's a larger company that you're applying for, go and turn on your Google alerts and enter those companies in those Google alerts. So whenever there's a change happening, you will know, okay, these guys are looking for something, or these guys have launched a new product, and hey, by the way, you're a specialized person in that product. And sometimes, by the way, people don't always publish recruiting ads. A lot of the times, and the company itself will not publish recruiting ads. And the reason is very simple: they'll go to recruiters, and those recruiters, because they're getting paid by the hour, they don't really care about, they just want to get a candidate, get
yeah,
the candidate hired and get their commission or whatever, get the agency fees. So if you're smart enough, if you set up those Google alerts or whatever alert facility that you're using, the moment there's a significant change, and they might say, oh, we've just launched this new product. For instance, we've launched, I'll give you a very basic example for the, because of time. We've launched a new Shopify store. And if you yourself, you're a Shopify expert, you're a Shopify developer, front end, back end, whatever it is, you could be like, oh, well, okay, now they've got a Shopify website. Maybe now I will reach out to the recruiting person and say, with that company, not the recruiter, but with that company and say, hey, I just noticed that you've launched a Shopify store. I'm a Shopify developer, and these are my credentials in a very short, sort of precise manner.
Yeah.
Would you be kind enough to give me an interview? Are you hiring, for instance? And again, this is one thing that I forgot to mention. um, Sometimes some companies don't openly hire. They're doing it in stealth mode. So it
Okay.
means that they are looking for people, but they're not openly looking for people. Sometimes they'll just find somebody that's really talented and go, hey, would you be interested in a job? So by doing this, by turning on these notifications and signing up for Google Alerts, you're kind of opening yourself up to that opportunity where people might say, "Oh, you're really good. We like what you've done. Would you want to work on our team? Would you
Hmm.
at least come in for an interview to see what we can talk about?"
That's like a plus point when you're
Yes.
applying for jobs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess you've already mentioned about, AI not only being used for looking for your next role, but also for skill development, right? Do you want to add
Yes.
like a little here and there on that top point? Like how it's helping
Um,
in developing your skills to get
Yeah,
the
I
new
mean,
role?
see, so back in the day when I've always been somebody that's upskilling myself.
Uh-huh.
That's unfortunately, fortunately, that's the nature of being a marketer. Marketing as a business or marketing as a function is changing every day. And
Yeah.
any marketer who tells you like I'm not a guru, and anyone who tells you he or she is a guru is lying, because everything is changing so rapidly, so quickly, that you might know something today, and then tomorrow or the day after it's outdated.
Yeah,
Which is why it's really important to
definitely.
upskill yourself. And in certain fields, developments are really rapid, really quick. What you can do with AI is always, because and once you are using a particular training model to train your understanding of a particular topic or subject, you can train it. You can always run that model from time to time, every couple of weeks, every couple of months, or like, hey, what is latest in, I don't know, whatever industry you're in auto
Mhm.
engineering, for instance, automobile engineering, or uh, driverless cars, or the coffee industry, whatever. Even if, and by the way, people think, oh, this is only for hardcore jobs. Even if you're a barista, you can actually use this. Like, you could say, what are the new, I don't know, new ways of serving. Uh, Again, I'm not a barista, so I don't know. But what are the new ways of serving a frappuccino, for instance, or how can I use condensed milk to make my espresso better. And then AI
Yeah,
will
yeah,
say,
yeah.
okay, you could look up these recipes, and these are the influencers online that have tried this recipes, and these recipes went viral or whatever. And then if you're a barista, you could actually, again, it depends on who you work for. If you work for Starbucks, obviously you can't really develop your own recipes. But if you work for a small chain or a small single standalone shop, you might go to your manager or your boss, and or even if you run it yourself, you could say, hey, we're launching this based on a recommendation. You don't have to tell them who recommended, but you can try out different recipes. And this is where people misunderstand or misinterpret the benefit of using AI, because if you can use AI, and AI can tell you, hey, you can use this particular recipe and it'll make it whatever, it can make it sweeter or stronger or tastier or creamier or frothier. You've used a very minor element of AI to actually help improve the taste of your coffee, which has resulted in more customers into your organization, which has resulted in more revenue. So
Yeah.
it's like a butterfly effect, but again, it's what did it take? It just took you slightly training a particular AI model, like whatever it is, ChatGPT, whatever it is that you use, to understand what you're doing and give you suggestions on how you can do it better.
Hmm.
And this can be used multiple ways. You could use it for something as simple as that, or you could use it something for something as complicated as, you know, what are the latest tools in SEO, for instance. And then you
Yeah.
could brush up on those tools, and then AI will give you a different spin. And there's always a different spin when Google gives you a result, because Google is always trying to sell. You got to remember that, right? Google's always trying, because again, at the end of the day, a search engine, what is it relying on? It's relying on two things: one, organic clicks, and paid clicks and sponsorships,
Paid,
where
yeah.
people can go to particular products. Whereas if you train your AI model well enough, it can give you answers based on your preference, not based on some advertising algorithm from Google or Bing or whoever it is.
Yeah.
Uh, and an interesting development. I haven't tried it out myself, but recently I heard Copilot. You know, if you heard a Copilot, Microsoft has launched their version of an all-encompassing ChatGPT tool called Copilot, and Copilot sort
Okay.
of infuses a bunch of things. So with Copilot, you can use ChatGPT 4 for free, by the way. You've got certain runs in a day, but again, for free, because GPT-4 is a paid GPT. Chat GPT or GPT plus uses GPT-4, and GPT Plus is paid. Chat GPT Plus is paid. Whereas with Microsoft Copilot, you could use it for free. You get certain amount of runs, but you can use that, which is also linked to Bing. So it's not just Chat GPT standalone by itself. It is linked to Bing, which is a search engine, Microsoft search engine. You can link it to DALI, which is the image platform where you can build artificial images, and also a platform called Suno, whatever, which is basically a platform that generates AI generated music, right? So you can say, I
Okay.
want to generate a hip hop beat for my fashion show, for example, and I don't want to use any of these modern day. I don't want to use Dua Lipa or any of the. I want to use a standalone sort of AI generated thing. Again, I've not tested out Suno. I've seen some videos. I'm going to test it out hopefully in the next couple of days or weeks. But I've been told that it's pretty solid. Like you can enter a prompt and it can generate a beat for you. You can say, I want a hip hop beat, or I want a rap beat or a rock beat, and it can generate that. So we're getting to a point where AI is even helping you develop music, which is kind of crazy, right? Uh, so that's where skills come in, and again, you can, the imagination is the limit when it comes to, you just need to figure
Yeah.
out what your end goal is, and then work your way backwards and say, okay, based on what I need to do. Like if you're developing a podcast, you can use AI to develop the whole thing apart from the actual guest.
Yeah.
Developing a script, developing a storyboard, even developing the background music using a tool like Suno. It's amazing how you can use AI.
Also, it's giving like a very personal touch, when you're getting something out
Yes.
of it of your own choices,
Yes,
you
absolutely. And
know.
this is where the training, you need to really understand how to train the GPT model. Because once
Exactly.
you've trained it on it's like appointing your own personal assistant. On the first day you get the
Uh-huh.
personal assistant on board in your company or whatever, he or she will not understand you because it's the first day. But the more they hang out with you and they realize, okay, Barry or Tripti wakes up at so and so time. She likes her coffee with one sugar. She listens to whatever, she
Hmm.
listens to this kind of music. The more he or she spends time with you, they understand you. It's the same way with these training models. The more they understand your day-to-day activities, the kind of websites you visit, your search engine history, everything, it gets better and better and better and better, to the point where it'll sort of be able to even respond to your emails. So you can actually literally tell, and there's already apps that are doing that. Obviously, they're not doing it that well, but eventually, once they get trained enough, you'll literally be able to tell this particular piece of software saying, "Hey, reply to this email saying no, I'm not interested," or reply to this email saying yes, I'm interested. Let's have a meeting next week at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Or there are actually apps right now. I don't remember the names, but you just say, "Okay, set up a meeting next week," and the app, what it does is it actually has access to your calendar. It will actually book a time that is mutually beneficial to both you and the other person, based on just you telling it, okay, book a time next week, and it'll just go ahead and book a time and send out those emails and create the content for those emails. It's
That's
really that smart.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's interesting.
There's already apps that do that, by the way.
I guess people come up like they want to do something and they feel like, I wish AI could do it, and then they start developing that kind of AI. Like
Yeah, and that's the founder
probably,
side of things. Yeah, they'll be like, okay, I wish an AI could do this. I wish this tool
yeah.
that I'm telling you about is calendar management. It's simple. Like the first phase was when tools like Calendly were launched back in whatever 8 9 years ago, and you could because it takes away a lot of the back and forth. Are you free at this time? Are you free? So now you're taking
Yeah.
Calendly and taking it to the next level, but you still need to have that human interaction. And for
Hmm.
me, for a lot of people, that interaction is non-critical. It's not like I'm committing to pay you $1 million or something. I'm just committing time, right? So they're thinking, okay, why not, instead of the founders or the email people, emails going back and forth, or even sending you a link, why don't we create an AI option that has access to this particular person's calendar? That's just, and again, it's just a matter of figuring out your writing style and then just pre-populating this tool with content. Like, you can just send them a bunch of like 5 different templates to choose from. Like, if it is yes, if it is no, if it is maybe, so this is like a combination of if this then that, plus conditional logic, plus AI, plus links and APIs and integration with different parts of your ecosystem, like your calendar, your Outlook, your email system, Gmail, whatever you use. And it's pretty cool. And again, it's not only businesses that can do that, individuals can do that. People, like, there's actually, and again, I don't want to talk about this software, but there's actually softwares right now available that you can log into, and this is specifically for job seekers. You can actually set up filters. Okay, you can set up filters, and you can say, I'm looking for marketing jobs, I'm looking for sales jobs, I'm looking for web developer jobs, and whatever. And then you can set the everything. You can set the geography, you can set the salary packet, whatever it is, whatever filters are available, you can set them up, and then these tools will just run in the background based on you giving them permission to do X, Y, Z, and then they will actually try and secure you meetings, or at least book you interviews, at least
Oh,
first stage interviews, right? And they're doing it in the background. You don't do anything. You just have to log in from time to time and just check that the software is still
check.
working.
Yeah.
That's it. And obviously log into your mailbox, and it'll even give you a notification saying, "Oh, you have 3 responses today." So then it's up to you to go and check, "Oh, are these responses valid or not?" And I've been testing these softwares for about a year and a half now. Initially, they were pretty bad, but as AI is developing, they're getting better and better. Initially, I used to apply for marketing jobs, and I used to get served. Oh, I actually have this funny incident where somebody said, "You just applied for a CFO's position." I'm like, "Okay, sorry about that. I was testing this AI tool. My apologies. I know nothing about finance," right? But that was in the early stages. And as AI is getting better and better, these tools are getting better and better as well. So you'll get to a point where you won't even need to manage this by yourself. You can just have these tools apply for jobs on your behalf. And what they do is they go to all these boards. They go to LinkedIn, and they go to Indeed, and they go to CV Library, and they go to Total Jobs and Yahoo Jobs and Monster Jobs and all these job boards, and they're just they're just trawling these jobs, specifically looking for those keywords that you've put in, looking for those
Hmm.
companies, looking for everything, matching those up with your CV and saying, "Oh, this is where there's common keywords, so there's some kind of alignment," and then forwarding your CVs to them. There have been instances where this particular tool for me has actually gone on and sent it to an HR person, because I got an email from an HR person, and that obviously that HR person did not know that I was using an AI bot. They actually said, "Hey, Barry, thanks for your application, but we're not currently recruiting right now, but we'll keep your CV for future." And I
Hmm.
was like, I had no idea, because obviously AI is doing this. Then, and this is what most people are doing now. If they're using this tool, they reverse it. They're like, they will only, so now you don't need to look at 100 uh, job posts, right? You'll only look at the ones that you're getting a response to, because obviously you need to know,
Hmm.
if in case you get an interview, then you need to know something about the company. So in other
Yeah,
words,
yeah,
it's
that's
saving
what.
you, well. So instead of looking at 100 websites and 100 companies and doing research on 100 companies, you only have to research the ones that actually respond to you.
Yeah, yeah,
And that way you can actually do better research, instead of just quickly doing a 1 minute scroll on their website. You can actually spend 15 minutes and look at their website and look at LinkedIn, get a bit more knowledgeable about the post itself, the role itself. In case you get an interview, then you know exactly what to say and what to do.
exactly. Otherwise, you're like unaware of the JD and everything. You just
Yes,
applied
exactly.
randomly.
Yep,
Also, talking
exactly.
about JD, I think I feel like some companies have started putting this in their JD. Like, are you aware of AI tools? Like, this has come up like a, I think, need that you should know now in in this industry.
Yes,
Or what do
yes.
you like?
And I think it's important. Initially, it was a thing. I was discussing this on a podcast a couple of, like, last year, and they were saying, "Oh yeah, marketing and business and stuff." But I think generally, even people in general need to know and understand how AI works. Maybe not so much in depth, but even a sort of a rudimentary understanding or a fundamental understanding of AI is beneficial. Like how it works and the kind of prompts that you need to use just for basic functions. I don't think you need to at this point you don't really need to understand the end to ends of it. I myself don't
Yeah.
understand the end to ends of it, but you need to have a decent understanding enough to let's say you were looking you were at an interview, and they would ask you, hey, would you be able to do this using AI? You need to be able to at least tell them, yes, I can do it. And again, again, most people, when you talk about AI, because OpenAI and ChatGPT is so mainstream, their immediate response would be ChatGPT.
Yeah,
And that couldn't be further
that's
from it.
true.
ChatGPT is great in what it does, but there are so many tools out there that you can use, either in conjunction with ChatGPT or instead of ChatGPT. It all depends on what you need it to do. Like
Hmm.
for instance, these tools that I mentioned about, just a minute ago, these application tools that literally take your CV and apply for jobs on your behalf, they have nothing to do with ChatGPT. Yes, they are using some sort of training model that has been developed by OpenAI, which is ChatGPT's parent company, but they're not related to ChatGPT in any way, shape, or form, right? So you
Hmm.
need to really, I think people need to understand what can and can't be done. A very quick example, and an easy example. People are always thinking about, oh my God, I need to update my LinkedIn profile picture. Okay, and they think, oh my God, I have to, because a lot of these gurus and influencers say you have to have a professional looking photograph, otherwise people don't take you seriously, which I agree. You don't want to take a picture of you at someone's wedding and then put it on just because, I know people take a lot of selfies when they're at
Yeah.
weddings, not because they're bride or groom, but just because people dress up at weddings. So they think, oh, I look
Yeah.
very good. Let's take a picture of it. And then they'll think, for some weird reason, they'll think, oh, why don't I put that on my LinkedIn profile because I look good? But little realizing that you looking good has nothing to do with the fact that you need to look professional.
Yeah.
Okay. And then people think, oh my God, I need to go into a photo studio and do that.
Or-
Well, now using AI, you don't need to. All you need to do is use specific tools. Again, I'm not going to name tools, but you can Google this. There's tons of tools out there where you can literally upload between 5 to 20 pictures of yourself, 5 to 20 selfies of yourself, and that particular software will use those to train their AI to create, um, I'm not saying a fake, but a semi fake picture of yourself. So it'll have all the elements of your face, your eyes, your nose, all the features that you have, but it will accentuate you and it'll put you in a suit or
like a
in a
formal
professional
attire.
environment in formal attire with a proper appropriate background and stuff.
Uh,
And this costs anything between, you can do it for free. The free tools obviously are not that great, or you can do it for paid, anything between $20 right up to $50, and the turnaround time is 1 hour to 2 hours. So you upload 5 or 6 selfies or 10 selfies, and within 1 or 2 hours you will have a professional looking picture of yourself, which you can use for various reasons. You can use them for you know profile pictures on LinkedIn, or if you're developing yourself as a thought leader, you can use it as biography pictures or whatever it is, and you don't have to go to the studio. So that is another slightly more nuanced kind of a use of AI, but that is AI in itself, because what they're doing is, what those people are doing is using AI to learn how to interpret your face and the different points on your face and apply it to an already optimized image in order to optimize your image to create a better look for you. Again, rudimentary form of AI, given what else is around there, but it's there. It's there for people to use. So you could use those tools. I mean, the amount of tools that are out there is phenomenal. I mean, if you look at the amount of things that you can do with AI, apart from what ChatGPT can do, it's it's mind-boggling. And you just need to
it is.
update yourself and upskill yourself, keep yourself in the know, understand what AI can do and what AI can and cannot do. And also, again, I think one of the things we talked about was also the ethical considerations, right? Like, a lot of people are
He
saying, oh, you can use AI, but how do we know if people are genuinely smart or not? And the thing is, you can't.
exactly.
uh, but here's the thing. I'm going to give you how people are progressing and how business and how life itself is always progressing. So if you've taken an exam in the old days, 20, 30 years ago, one of the things was, oh, you're not allowed, especially if you're doing math and geometry and stuff, you're not allowed calculators in the exam hall. Okay, which is standard. You're not allowed. But the thing is, as time went by, people started realizing, okay, it's not the fact that, unless somebody is training to actually be a scientist or rockets, then it's different. Then they need to be able to learn to use those calculations. But if somebody is training to be an accountant, he's training to be a really good accountant. It doesn't necessarily mean that an accountant doesn't have to be a great mathematician.
Hmm.
An accountant has to be, when you say you're good with numbers, it means you're good with crunching financial numbers. It doesn't mean that you're able to get the square root of 6555 randomly, in the that doesn't that means you're just gifted, right? So then people gradually said, oh, I'm realizing that I don't need to, people can have calculators, because now you can actually use
Yeah,
calculators and make them quicker. So now people are gradually realizing, and then you had the next phase where people had smartphones, and then they're like, oh, you can't take smartphones into an exam hall because now you can Google stuff. And then gradually people are realizing, well, even in real life people can Google stuff. So what's preventing a bad candidate, especially when it comes to recruiting? What's preventing a bad candidate from getting hired and then totally mucking up the company? It's not. And I am sure
yeah,
you and I've personally known so many people, especially now that we're getting in the recruiting space. I see so many instances where especially startups, they hire somebody because they think, oh, this is perfect, the guy's CV sounds really good. They hire them, and then 6 months later they realize he's not the right candidate. And that's because they went for superficial things. They looked at superficial things. They looked at
yeah,
past accomplishments, and looked at all those things. So for me, I don't think it's a big deal. I think, obviously, if you're a candidate, you need to understand that if you are using AI, as long as you're honest about it, you can just say, listen,
yeah,
man, ChatGPT is an openly available tool. And for this, if because I know a lot of these interviews nowadays, they might give you a task as one way
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah,
judging how good you are. So you might want to come clean with them and say, listen, I use ChatGPT, okay, but it's not a copy paste input. I took the input from ChatGPT, and I added my own interpretation of how this would affect this role, or how would affect this project positively. So as long as you're honest about it, I think it's okay. And as far as recruiters themselves go, I think uh, they need to develop some kind of robust authentication. You need to sort of first, obviously, people have disclaimers. If you're using AI, you need to be honest about using AI or whatever, but also have some kind of authentication. Especially nowadays, when remote recruiting is happening, so there's a lot of times where you'll get a link and say, oh, you have to pass this exam. And this exam, the only thing that they're monitoring is time. They're not monitoring anything else. Like, I think in certain parts of the world, because of GDPR and stuff, they're not allowed to install anything else on your software, on your laptop, because that would be classed as spying. They can't install spyware, because some people might want to know where you're clicking on your computer, just in case. And they don't have any bad intentions. They just want to make sure that you're not cheating on the exam. But the problem
yeah,
here is, you can't do that in especially in Europe. You can't really do that because of GDPR and stuff. Even in the UK, you can't do that. So I think, again, honesty is the best policy. Just tell candidates, listen, if you are using ChatGPT, make a note of the instances where you are using tools, where you are using AI, and then eventually, if you do get called for an interview, you might get asked to explain how you've applied this here. And that makes total sense, because again, if you get 100 people that are using ChatGPT, obviously you're not going to get all those 100 people involved in the interviews, right? You're going to choose the best one of them. You always
yeah,
have the opportunity to, if you choose 5 or 10 of the 100, you can always tell those 5 or 10, hey, listen, you got this answer based off of ChatGPT, thank you for telling us. Now would you tell us in real life, how would you handle this problem? And this is a way I think recruiters can judge for themselves, okay, was this guy, yes, he did use ChatGPT, or she did use ChatGPT, but is he or she able to independently solve this issue without ChatGPT? And if they can,
yeah,
you've got yourself a good candidate. So there's always
yeah,
ways
like you
around it.
mentioned. Hmm.
Yeah.
So, I just want to ask you like one last question. Like, we've talked so much about AI, but people might have some misconception about it, in the context of job applications or job discovery. Anything around that area you want to talk about, like some misconceptions about AI that people might have at the moment?
Uh, okay, so I think in general, first let me just address it in general. I think people always, because of everything that's gone around in the media and everything. I think people have uh, a mixed interpretation or mixed understanding of AI, mostly in the negative. Um, and again, I think because as soon as it was common knowledge that ChatGPT could write blog posts and ChatGPT could do this and do that, whatever, a lot of people were like, "Oh man, that's it, my job. I'm gonna lose my job because now ChatGPT is gonna do it." And I think
Yeah.
it's not a matter of ChatGPT is not, AI in general or GPT or whatever it is. All these tools like this for instance, the photography tool that I told you about, where you can enhance your
Mm-hmm.
features and stuff using these aren't that's not designed to replace photographers. Okay, it'll replace the bad ones, just like ChatGPT will replace really bad bloggers or blog writers
Uh-huh.
or bad content writers. So if anything, it's a good thing for the industry because now it's forcing people to get better. Because
Mm.
I did a lot of research on this. As a marketer, I had reached out to a lot of people in the last 5 10 years. For instance, something on behalf of clients, we used to reach out to these guys and say, can you write blog posts? And I know they would the main parent company would subcontract this to a third party, and most of the times the third party would be in a non-English speaking country, as an example, and the blog post that we would get in return would be really poor, like really poor, badly written English, bad syntax, bad grammar, barely passable. And there's a lot of websites back in the old days that used to use this context because it was cheap and they didn't have any other option. They couldn't afford to spend money on a proper subject matter expert that would charge, $150 per blog post. So they were willing to go to Fiverr and other marketplaces and spend $5 on one blog post, even if it was a really rubbish blog post. Now what ChatGPT and all these tools are able to do is, because they're around, all those bad writers are going to disappear. It's only the good ones, because the good ones are good. They'll be like, yeah, ChatGPT cannot write as good as me. They're going to just
Yeah.
get better. Okay, so there's always a good side to it. Another thing is, I think and earlier I said, people really need to understand how to use ChatGPT or use AI, learn how to use prompts, you learn how to use different integration tools, learn how to use APIs. It's going to become very second nature. Like now, if I talk about, and you can probably, and if we're all around in the next 20 years, you can actually take me up on this, right? And hopefully in the next Tech Talk, 2044, you can bring me back and say, listen, by let's talk about this. You said this, and what I'm going to say is things like APIs and stuff are going to be very generic. Everyone is going to have APIs to do things. Okay, everyone is going to have some kind of GPT, a tool to use in their day-to-day life. You know, uh, how they use it is all dependent on that particular person, right? So
Yeah.
learning to understand how to use APIs, it's kind of like, the easiest example I can give you is smartphones. Like if you give your grandfather a smartphone, because this technology is not native to them, they'll find it a bit difficult. But if you give
Yeah.
a 12-year-old a smartphone, they've grown up, that's all they've used. So for them a smartphone is
Yeah.
like, it's a piece of cake for them, right? It's the same thing. And as people are growing, and as today's 8-year-old, my son 6 years old, as he grows, 16 and 26, APIs are going to become a really easy thing, and they'll be able to understand how to integrate different sort of models and things like that. It's going to become second nature, and using that is going to just make things a lot faster, a lot better. Another example I can give you is, if you remember when content became a thing, like content writing back in 2005, 2006, and then you'd see recruiting ads saying, we're looking for content writers, we're looking for blog
Yeah.
writers, we're looking for social media. In 2010, 2011, people are looking for social media managers. And a lot of the old timers back then were like, what are these social media managers? What do they do? People are thinking, oh, these job roles never existed back then, and now they exist.
Yeah.
So in the same way, you know eventually you're going to see roles like prompt engineers, or AI experts or AI subject matter experts. They're going to become more and more popular. And you know it's nothing, it's just, you're getting rid of the old, redundant roles, but you're giving birth to new roles. So and in the process, if we do it correctly, we're getting rid of all the weeds, we're getting rid of all the crap, we're getting rid of all the scum. And it's like the cream rises to the top kind of thing. That's where you're saying all the, all you're going to be left with is the most talented people, and all the riffraff are going to go away because they can't compete with ChatGPT, or they can't compete with AI in general. They're going to go away. So I see this as a benefit. It's not a it's not and then again, it's all about how you position AI. AI is not here to replace you. It's more like, Batman and Robin. It's like, your sidekick.
Yeah.
Robin is there. It's not like Robin can go and do stuff by himself. I know Robin lovers are going to hate me for this if you're in the whole superhero universe, but Robin needs Batman. That's how
It's like more an
they've sort of.
enhancement.
Yes, it's all about enhancing what you're doing, right? Think of it as
Yeah.
a sidekick. It enhances efficiency. It allows you to focus on tasks that require, it enhances your productivity. So these are the things that you should be using AI for to enhance productivity. It's not like, oh, AI is going to replace me. Use AI to, just become a better professional or better human being. Use it for whatever you can, but use it to save time more than anything else.
Yeah, that's true. Also, if you look at the comment section here, can you look at the comment? Like we have one question from Rasul.
Right.
Can you check on the comment
Sorry,
section?
I can't.
Yeah.
Hang on a sec. Let me just. I'd minimize my screen. So Rasul, what is the difference between AI and sorry AI and AI?
He says like a small AI and capital I. If you just read the question.
Uh, used in Arabic meaning like. Okay, I think I'm not sure, Rasul, but I think what you're trying to say is this is like a. It's not really an AI related question. It's just a matter of how the model is understanding your prompt. I think for now, just to be on the safe side, it is just uh, just type the whole word, the entire word, artificial intelligence. I know it becomes a bit cumbersome for people to do that, but I think most generative transformers, or like GPTs or whatever, they are trained to understand AI as AI and not AI as, because I am from the middle. I lived in the Middle East, so I know what you're talking about for the most part, L and AI or whatever. But again, it depends on a few things, like maybe the kerning of your font itself, because even for instance, ChatGPT GPT-4 can actually read off of your and it can also do visual representation. So for instance, you can actually show it a picture, and it can actually tell you what that picture is. So then I think if you're looking at from that perspective, maybe use different fonts where the kerning is more visible, where you can actually literally, because sometimes, because I have really bad eyesight, sometimes it gets confusing for me even to see whether it is an I or an L. So if you use the right kind of font, with the right kind of kerning, where even AI, it'll be easier for them to understand. Okay, it's AI, not AL. AL. I think that should do the trick for now. But trust me, the models are getting better and better, and within a matter of time, it'll be able to understand when you're saying AI as opposed to AL. That's number one. Number two, um, with the ability to interpret pictures and images and all that kind of stuff, it's only a matter of time where it'll be able to do that. So it's just I don't think that's a big deal. You'll just be able to figure it out as you go along.
Thank you so much. I hope, Rasul, that clarifies your doubt, and your insights have been really, really valuable, Barry. But then we do have some time constraints, because of which we have to bring this session to an
Yep.
end today. Yeah. And before we end, do you have anything that you want to say to our job seekers about anything that you want to end this session with?
Yeah, I think just be for first of all, have an open mind when you're applying for jobs. Number two, like I said earlier, quality versus quantity. Spend more time, crafting personalized resumes, personalized CVs, or at least personalized cover letters, and do that system where you block. Where you create buckets, two different buckets, one bucket with generalized sort of copy paste or easy apply applications, and the other one where you spend at least a minimum of 10 to 15 minutes in crafting a personalized sort of approach. And the third thing is experiment with AI. I know some of you might be thinking of, because I've spoken to a lot of people recently, especially because we are doing this product, and a lot of people are afraid. They're like, because they have a lot of questions, similar to Rasul. I'm not saying Rasul you're afraid, but they have questions, and a lot of people are, because of those questions, they're having second thoughts about, oh, should I use AI because then I might get blacklisted or whatever, and start small. So that's what I say. Do your experiments. There are things that you can do. There are tools. Feel free to, I don't want to name tools on this tech talk, but feel free to connect with me in the DMs on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to share those tools with you. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, but they'll be able to help you, get noticed. And I'll even share my tool, the one that we're developing.
I think Ibrahim was asking that, but I think he can directly get in touch with you through DM and know about
AI
AI
that can be
tools
used to search
that
for
you can
job with
use.
CV. Yeah, Ibrahim, get in touch with me, and I'll send you a link to that website.
Also, maybe our viewers are from UK. So if you are from UK, there's a quick update for you. We have our Tech Jobs Fair coming up around, in March. That is on 14th March in London. And if you want to know about more about it, you can just go to our website, techjobsfair.com, and you can get your free tickets now if you're a job seeker.
Yeah, and it's going to be awesome because yeah, I'm going to be there too.
Yes. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Until next time, take care and have a
Thanks, guys.
great day. Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
guys. Thanks,
Barry.
thanks, Tripti. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, bye.